Hey guys, how is everyone doing today? Today we're gonna continue working on our ENGR111 software tools for engineers. We are still discussing and working on the introductory part of Excel, how to use some Excel work for engineers. In the last previous introductory part, we just figured out what are the different parts of Excel, and also we talked about referencing both ultimate and relative referencing and how to use these dollar signs to do that. Today we're gonna talk a bit more. We're gonna add a little bit more introductory and also add more difficulty to our work, and will be more engineering work here. We're gonna talk about a little bit more about the Excel ribbon, and in addition we're going to talk about some functions in Excel. So let's start. Let me just get to Excel directly instead of so here in Excel we will start now working on functions and also on the ribbon. Just to remind you guys, the ribbon is a new way to organize the icons and buttons in Excel in different, instead of the old menu style. In 2013 Microsoft introduced in all its programs this kind of ribbon. This is the ribbon. You can see the tabs, the file where you can do all file and options tabs, and then the home, which homes the most used functions and buttons. I'm going to probably use all these buttons throughout this class. And then if you want to insert anything related to inserting any stuff, we're going to use the charts mainly in that. And then if you don't want to do some printouts, then we have some kind of page layout. And then we're going to talk about this today, some of the formulas and functions we use in Excel. And then if you're going to deal with data, this is the functions, this is the tab that we use in data. And then review, if you want to review different files from different other people. View, if you have different ways, there are tons of different ways to view your file. So this is the default views, just cells, which we call the spreadsheet. And once we get into VBA, we're going to add the developer tab and then some help. And if you have your Acrobat installed, then and you can add as much tabs as we can. As I told you before, you can personalize your own tab. So let's get back to the home tab. We have here the clipboard, which you have copy, cut and paste, and this brush here is really important, some kind of format painter, which is just copying some format of your cells to another cells. Also a little bit of a font. We're going to do throughout this class, I'm going to work with this font, change some fonts. Alignment is to align the text and to just fix the way the cells look like and align them. As engineers, we're going to be dealing a lot with this number format, and I've been asked a question by one of my students. I keep getting date or time format. How can I fix that? Here you go to the cell, and by default it's general. I remember he got time or date, and I asked him just to change it back to general. Then we'll talk about different styles of cells, and then how to fix and format cells by inserting, deleting, how to edit. We're going to deal with this today, and some ideas. So these are the main home tab. I'm going to show you today how to work with functions. It's going to be a mix between some functions and also the ribbon and how to use the ribbon. So for functions, guys, Excel has a huge library of formulas and functions, and they are divided into different ways. There are 3 or 4 ways to bring these functions. I'm going to show them all today and how to use these functions in Excel. Before I start, I just want to get back to the formulas tab, and let's see here the buttons that we're going to be using. If you want to insert a function to search for that function, we're going to do here insert a function. Some very basic summation functions. If you have recently used functions, so these are some of the functions I've been using in my course here and will be using as well. If you're an accountant, you're going to be using lots of these financial. If you're doing some programming, we're going to do this a lot, some logical functions. when we have text, we want to fix some of the text and we want to put some text, we can do that as well. And we'll be doing this a lot also as well. Well, date and time has some functions as well, and also lookup. And when you look in your data, you want to find something in your data, you have something called lookup functions. Lots of math and trig functions that we do here in engineering, so we're going to do this. If you need more functions, some statistical, see here, lots of engineering functions, and you might recognize some of these functions as you work throughout this class. Cube functions, information, compatibility, web function. Again, Excel is not only for engineers, it's used by different experts around the world. So you're gonna find things that we use and lots of things that we do not use as engineers. So we can get all these functions out of here. So first of all, let me just do a very fast table here, and then let's put the function. So let's say we want to again calculate the speed of cars. So speed is very simple. Speed is distance divided by time. So let's put here the distance, and let's put our distance in miles, and let's use also our distance, and your distance is in, you want to put this in feet, and time, let's put our time in hours, time in minutes, and time in seconds. Why I'm doing this? Because we're going to do lots of functions today. And then we want our speed. We want our speed always in mile per hour. Okay guys, so speed will always be in miles per hour. So I usually ask my students in class, and ask them, okay, what is the distance between different two parts of the city, or from work to school, or school to work, or work to home, home to school, whatever. So let's put here some 10 miles. My other student just walks, so it's like 500 feet only, and 20 miles, 56 miles, 50 miles, 1,000 feet, people who walk, and then finally 5 miles. So these are the different students, and we're gonna fix the table. We're gonna fill the table throughout, so don't worry about this, guys. And then hours, well, for 10 miles I use probably 6 minutes. This guy had to walk 500 feet, so it's 12 minutes. This is half an hour for 20 miles, and this is 1 hour, and this is 0.75 hours. And for feet, let's say he runs, so he does this in 56 seconds. And finally, let's say this guy takes a bike, so he does this in 20 minutes, just for the sake of example. And let's do some formatting here, things that I was telling you about the home. So let's format this table to look nicer. So first of all, we want to, these are the titles, so let's make them bold. Let's change the font to, well, choose whatever font you like. I'm gonna, let's choose this kind of font here. No, let's make it bigger. To make it bigger, I choose here and see these two A's and 11. 11 is the size. If I wanna make it bigger, notice the size goes from 12 to 14. So these are the titles. And for the numbers, let's choose the whole table here, and let's give it a probably the most famous one used here is Times Roman. Well, there are tons of different kinds of fonts. You choose the one you like. The default is this Calibri. Well, let's just do it. This guy here. No, it won't show in the video. So just let's here. Let's just use Arial. Arial is. Let's choose here. You know what? Let's just go to T for Times New Roman, the most famous one used for typing. And let's now also change the color for the titles to yellow, or let's make it a less extreme color here. And also one thing I always like to do is add some borders. So this is like all the font format where you can change the colors, add some borders and the shape. So I'm gonna put here all borders. I also want to put some kind of thick outside borders, and you can do whatever you like. Also, since we're doing this, let's say that we want to put here a title, and this title says table of speeds. Not only that, I want to make it big, and I want also to use some kind of a merge and center, which merge cells together into one. So I'm gonna merge this all into one. And also let's make this as also bigger. Let's change the font to Times New Roman, or let's do it this way. Let's put it in the middle. When I say middle here, vertical middle. So here I'm just showing you how can we do some kind of formatting of the table. If I want to zoom in and zoom out to make you guys see this, so that's another way. I'm going to put some borders here as well, thick borders, so we can now have a nice looking table. Now let's use the functions. One function that I always like to use, and we're going to be listing next week, listing more functions as much as we go, is a function that makes use of converting between different units and each other. That's why I put here different units. So let's fix the units. They're not all in miles, they're not all in feet. We want to change all to be in miles or feet. So let's fill both tables. So here I want to change this 10 miles into feet. Let's say I don't know the conversion rate. Does Excel help me? Yes, it does. So let's do it. I'm going to do it the most basic way, the easy way if I want to use the keyboard, but I'm going to show you some other ways to do that. So if I put here equal, once I put equal, I am in, you can see here it says here down below here, enter mode, where I'm going to enter any number or any function. So I can put a function. If you remember when I typing a function, if I know the name of the function, then I can simply type it. If not, I can search for it. I'm going to do both, guys. So I'm going to do some converts. And then probably if I put a C-O-N, there's this function here called convert, the fourth one, if you can see that. If I double click on it, it's going to help me. So now it's the function that's embedded in Excel, and it tells me what number you want, what's the from unit, and what's the to unit. And if I can click on this, means that this is the number I should enter right now. So I want to convert this 10 miles, and then I put a comma. So it even helps me with different units. So it's the from unit. So this is in miles. So all you need to do is just search for miles. So I have here different miles. This is the one I probably use. So double click here, it enters, it even shows you how to type it, miles, and then put a comma. And I want, well, it's kind of smart here, so it's distance, so it's going to be changing some kind of a distance. So I want to change this into feet. So it's foot, and double click, and I'm done. I close my parentheses, and if I didn't even close my parentheses, Excel will close it for me. So it's 5280 feet per mile, so times 10, 5280. So I did my conversion, and that's one way to do your functions. Is there another way? Yes, there is. I'm going to show you the different ways. Let's say I don't want to even go to the formulas tab. Let's continue our home screen to show you that home screen has it all. Another way to do it, once you see this FX, it means function install. Where can I find it in the main screen? I can find it here. If I click on it, it's going to enter FX, and it's going to give me another way to enter functions if I don't know the name of the function. Or, see this guy here? It's add up. By default, it's the sum. I'm going to talk about the sum in a second. Adds up stuff. But I can add more functions. If you click on the arrow next to it, you can see here different, very famously used functions. Some average, count, max, min, and more functions. If you want to put it this way, or go to my formulas and do it insert function, the way you like. I'm going to just put here, click here to be easy. And this is how you enter a function. So let's cancel first, because I'm going to go here and I want to change now from feet to miles. So I'm not going to put the equal, I'm going to use the mouse here. So let's enter this guy here, and here I have the option of searching. So here I want to, whatever you can search, so I'm going to say here convert from miles to feet or vice versa. So go, so go, doesn't find it, so let's find another thing. Just convert units, go. So here convert, it's gonna even help me enter this function. So if I double click here or just click on convert, it probably puts a list if there's more than one function, and then I click OK, and it tells me what's your number. So I can simply type the address of this number. So its the address here is E10, or I can just click on this arrow up here. It's going to tell me where is your function. I'm going to click on this guy and then go back again. And then the function arguments. The word arguments means these numbers and values that enter into the function. Right now I know now, so I probably am going to write here FT for feet. And here I have a problem. It does not give me the list of units. And then go back. And this one here, the mile, I just put it between parentheses, double quotation marks. Why did I do that? Because I learned it from the previous way of doing that. Okay, click OK. So now that's in miles. Do I need to do it for all of them now? No, I can now copy and paste. To copy, let's go back here to the home screen. I can take this cell and use some relative referencing to copy. So I want this 1000 to be also in miles. So I copy, I can just type Control C or just go here and click copy. So this is the cell to be copied, and go here and paste. Also for that guy here where I did the equation, I can also copy, and I can go to these guys here and click paste. This is another way of entering the formulas. And also can do the same and go here and paste. So I have now created now a cells that just use the function of convert. Let's imagine that we need to sum up these miles. We want to know the distance for everyone going from school to work or home to work. I'm going to use one of these functions that are used a lot, which is the sum function. So again, Excel helps me a lot in doing these sum functions. So I'm going to click here, or I just type equal sum, and by default it said, you want these cells above it? The computer tries to outsmart it. If not, I can simply choose which cells I want to sum. But I'm going to sum these. So I just click here and I choose which cells I want, and then click enter and sum. If I want now to use relative referencing to sum up every one of these cells, I just go this and copy and paste, or just pull the handle to have all these sums. So these all are sums. Let's put here a border, let's put some green color, and I'm gonna put here sums. Okay guys, now let's talk about time. Now we have times, some in minutes, some in hours, some in seconds. Well, I can use convert, or I can just divide by 60 or multiply by 60. It's up to you. I'm going to do it either way. And it'll say here, I have 60 minutes in an hour, so I say equal 6 divided by 60. I can do that. And or I can say convert again. This number here. Sometimes it will block it, so I just use here the arrow to go to G10 and then comma. Okay, so here do I have time? Yes, I do. So I want to change here from minute and comma, and I want to change it into hour. You can see now it's limited because I'm changing time into time. I only have year, day, month, hour, and second. So here hour, double click and enter. So here I have now different ways to calculate from hour to minutes, hour to seconds, and I now copying and pasting. I'm doing it Control C, Control V directly, or again I can do here is equal convert. I'm gonna do it again just for you guys to understand it. Convert this guy here from hour. Here we go, and comma, and then minute. That's my alarm clock. Sorry guys. And now we can now simply just hold this down to copy and click. Okay, you guys. So here it gives me an error because this guy here, it's F14 sees 0 hours. Oh yeah, so that I made a mistake here. So this is 0. So we have to, let's change this into 2010. And now oh yeah, I have it in seconds, that's why. So here I'm gonna hold this, copy that here, and let's now convert this into minutes. Let's do it the easy way, divide by 60. And if it's 0, it's not actually 0, it has some kind of approximation, or it rounded the number just to show a 0. If you want to add, see the real number here, can you see this guys here? This is adding some accuracy to your number. So if I do this, so it's 55 seconds, we do it in minutes, something is not right here, so it's a number. Let's put this in general. So let's add some cells here. So again, let's put equal, convert, and this guy here from seconds. Here we go, 2 minutes. Here we go. So now time was in seconds, and I can now copy this one here and paste it here. So now I have my time in seconds, minutes, and hours. Okay guys, and now let's also I'm doing it the other way. I'm doing it different kinds of ways. So here I have okay guys. Okay, I know there's some errors in the table. I'm gonna fix it soon and then get back to you guys with that. Now let's talk about speed. Well, speed is we want in miles per hour, so it's equal to your miles divided by hours. So here these are my different speeds of vehicles throughout the course. So these are some of the functions that we use. We did sums, maybe you can do average as well. So here this is an average. You go here, click on average, and it asks me which average do you want. Make sure that you choose the right values here. So this is the range of cells you want to find the average, and then you fix this here, and this will become the average. So you see how simple and easy it is to create tables and put as much functions as you have. Very famous function that we use a lot in engineering are trig functions. Let me show you the trig functions here. So if you go to formulas, so math and trig, these are lots of functions that we use in math. Let's just look at some of these functions. I'm gonna do as much as I can. So let's say we want to calculate, let's put here some absolute values. So an absolute value, if this is negative, let's just put here a negative, just for the sake of example here. So if that's negative, this will be negative. So the absolute value gives you the positive. So if you just type here ABS for absolute, and here this gives you the absolute value of whatever number you have. If it's negative, it puts it into positive. what other functions, and this is what I want to do here now, is you can see here trig functions, tan, sine, cosine, some rounding, factorial. So let's do factorial. Factorial is another. Factorial is if you have factorial 5, it's 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So these numbers will give me big numbers. So let's create factorial for a small number like these guys here. So factorial, if I put here equal, or let's just get it here from the math and trig, go to the F. So I have here fact, which is the factorial of a number. If I don't know what's this function meaning, you can just look, it gives you an idea what's this function about. So I'm going to do here, sorry, so let's do it again. It's factorial, here, factorial. And it's going to ask me which number, so I will go here, and this guy here. Let's go down and click OK. So the factorial of 720. So I can go ahead and calculate the factorial of all these numbers here. And now let's do sine, cosine, and tan. When we have an angle, let's put here an angle, and let's put our angle here in degrees. So let's say I have degrees 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90. These are in degrees. Some rule in Excel is that we do not do angles in degrees when we calculate trig functions. It has to be in radians. So this angle is in degrees. We need to convert these into radians. We're going to do it in two different ways. So we want to first, one thing to do is to calculate your angle in radians. And you notice something, guys, when I was writing all these, the computer tried to outsmart me. So it tries to figure out, yeah, it seems like all rows 7 and 8 are titles, so I put it in the same format. You can fix that if you don't want it, but I like it, so I'm going to keep that. So change this into radians. Is there a way to do it? Of course there is. If you go to math and trig, and you go to R for radians, you're going to find some function here called radians. What does it do? It changes whatever number you have from degrees into radians. I like to do it now with, I like my keyboard. I'm going to do it directly by typing, so it's equal radians. So it converts your angle from degrees into radians. So these are the same angle in radians. Now let's calculate now the cosine, the sine, and the tan, and something called arc tan. Remember this from your and also arc sine. How about doing this? To remind you guys, what's that? This is the inverse tan, meaning that it gives you the angle of the tan of, or value of tan. This gives me the angle of the sine. I'm going to show you in a minute. So this is now the angle. To calculate the cosine, that's so simple. Equal cos, that's cosine, this angle. It has to be in radians. So these are all the cosine in radians. Sine, let's do it in a different way. And this is another thing I want to introduce to you guys. You can put functions inside of functions. Can you do that? Yes, you can do that. So let's say that you do not have this row here, this column here where you have radians. You have only degrees. Can I do it in one step? Yes, you can. How you do this? So I'm going to put here equal sine, but I want it in radians. I have only in degrees, so I can do the degrees inside the sine. So I put here DE. You can see here the computer helps me with another function named degrees and the angle in degrees. Oh, did I do something wrong? Yes, I did something wrong. I'm not calculating degrees, I'm doing it in radians. So I'm going to put here radians of my cell here 10. It's asking me, do we need to close the parentheses? So let me read this. So for cell L9, which is 10 degrees, it will find the radians. We're working here inside out. So from L9, which is in 10 degrees, we change it into radians and then find the sine of that. Can I do it in a different way? I can do it in either way. So let's do the same here. I'm going to do it for this cosine, radians of 20. And I can do it also this one here, sine of directly the radian. So you have here now two different ways now to calculate the sine and cosine. And then you can go ahead and copy and paste, copy and paste. Notice something about the 90. Actually, cosine 90 is 0, so it's some number here. And here is another thing I want to introduce, guys. When you go here to home, there is some kind of a number format called scientific format, which you know a lot in engineering. So this is 6.13 e to the negative minus 70. So it's a number that's very, 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 very small. It's almost 0. So the computer usually put it in this some kind of format, scientific format or engineering format. There are different kinds of format. We're going to talk about this later in another lecture. And now we have here the sine and cosine. Let's do the tan. I'm going to do it directly. Tan of my angle here, and I'm just going to here copy. So the tan here is in a, and this is a big number. It's actually infinity. If you remember in your trick, tan of 90 is infinity because it's 1 over 0. This is 0, but here in Excel it tries to approximate. Okay, guys, and then here comes now when you want to calculate arctan. Again, arctan is the inverse of tan. So if tan, let's say tan 45 gives you 1, then arctan of 1 gives you 45. So it results in angle, but your angle here is going to be in what? In radians. So let me show you that. So I'm going to do arctan in radians and arcsine in radians, and later on let's do the same in degrees and in degrees. So let's do that. So to do arctan, you go here, let's go get it from your formulas. So I go here, math and trig. So you can see here a tan, a sine. This means arctan, arcsine. Another way to put it in our math classes is tan to the negative 1, or math to the power, tan to the power negative 1. So here let's put a tan, and it's asking me what's the value. So that's 10. You can see here, I take the tan value, it's going to give me the angle in radians. You notice here it's the same number here. And if I want it in degrees, remember what we did? I here put something called degrees of this guy here. So we're back to 10 degrees, right? So it's an inverse function. So let's do this here, and probably the 90 degrees will be messed up. And now let's do this. It should be, yeah, it's even not messed up, so it looks good. Let's do the same for sine. So AS for a sine, and this is the hyperbolic sine, sine h. We can use it for specific functions as well. But mainly we use the sine, cosine, tan, and the arctan, arcsine, arccosine functions. So arcsine of which one here? Of this guy, which is the sine of the angle. And let's put it here. So it's the same numbers because it's the same angle. And now all I have to do, since I'm using relative referencing, is just pull this guy here. It's going to be also 10, and that meaning that this is degrees of this guy. When I click on the formula bar, it by color code it tells me what's the function looking at. And yeah, so by this, guys, I end this kind of lecture about functions. We're going to have an exercise that we'll be working on Wednesday as usual, and also I'm going to have a homework for you, and we're probably going to have another exercise on Friday. We're going to talk a little bit more about these functions. Again, guys, if you have any questions, I want to keep this video short but informative at the same time, and we're going to be working on more functions once we work on this in this Excel class. Thank you guys, and have a great week ahead, and see you in another video. Thank you. Bye bye.